Oh, hi, Year 13, and here's my lesson for you today on the first lesson on parametric equations, and we're looking at converting a parametric equation into a Cartesian equation. So I'll explain what this all means now and what a parametric equation is. Okay, so you're used to Cartesian equations. A Cartesian equation is just a connection between y and x. For example, y equals x squared, y equals 3x plus 2. They are Cartesian equations. Sometimes you will get an equation for x in a parameter t and an equation for y with a parameter t. And we can connect x and y and make it into a Cartesian equation. So t is what we call our parameter t. So if I've got this equation for x and this equation for y, and this is the range that t can take, so t is between -2 and 2, I'm going to see what the Cartesian equation of this looks like. But before I do that, I'm going to sketch what the curve would look like. So, what I'm going to do for the range of values that I've been given for t, so t is between -2 and 2, I'm going to now look at what values x and y take. And then I'm going to look at plotting it. So, when t is -2, x is 2 lots of that. So x is always 2 lots of t. So I'm just timesing my t values by 2. Right, to get my y value for t, I'm squaring. So I'm just squaring my value of t to get y. Okay, at any point you've got questions, just note your question down and then you can email me and I'll go through it. Now, let's think about what this sketch looks like. So, if I were to look at plotting these values here, okay, on a sketch, so I've already laid out like I would in a lesson. Okay, so I'm going to look at my values and I'm going to sketch it. So when x is -4, when x is -4, y is 4. So I've got to make this a little bit bigger. So let's go -3, -4, 3, 4. So when x is -4, y is 4. When x is -2, y is 1. 0, 0, 2, 1, and 4, 4. So for the range of values I've been given for t, I've told t goes between -2 and 2, I get my sketch and the connection between x and y. So I can see I've got a quadratic curve there. Now, what we're going to do now is find the Cartesian equation of this quadratic curve. Okay, so what I have is, I've got this as my parametric equation, and to change it into a Cartesian equation, I need to find t from x. So if I just rearrange t, and I'm going to sub that into here. So I'm subbing my value for t, and I will get x squared over 4. So my Cartesian equation for this curve is y equals x squared over 4. Okay, and we can see that from the curve because it's just the quadratic stretched out by a scale factor of 4. Squashed by a scale factor of 4. Because this is a quarter x squared. So it's my x squared, and then I've squashed it all by a scale factor of a quarter. Now, we'll look at what my range and domain is of this function. Now, the easiest way to find the range and domain is if it's easy to sketch the curve, then I can get it from the curve. So, I can see my domain of x. What values does x take? Well, this curve is valid for all my x values between -4 and 4. So this is what we call the domain of my function. So how do I write that down? So the domain of the function is x takes all the values between 4 and -4. Now I could have done that from the range of t. Now I know t is the same, x is the same as 2t. So if I multiplied everything by 2, I would get this, and we know x is 2t, so x is between 4 and -4. So that is called the domain. So I've done it two ways. I've done it from my sketch. This is the domain of all my x values between -4 and 4. Or I can do it more simply from looking at the range of values of t. Okay, now I'm going to look at the range of the function. What values does y take? Remember, the range is this distance here. What are all the values that y take? This is my range. Well, I can see my y values go up to a maximum of 4 and a minimum of 0. And it can actually equal 0. It cannot equal 4 because this point here actually isn't in the actual domain, because the domain goes all the way up to 4 but doesn't include 4. So how do I write down my range of values for y? Okay, well, I can see y goes between 4 and 0, and it can actually equal 0. So the range of values goes between 4 and 0. I could have done that from looking at my values for t. Now I know t goes between 2 and -2. Now I know that t squared will go between 4, well, if I square that, it will go to +4. So that's not going to work, is it? Okay, so I would therefore need to not be able to do it this way. I have to do it from the sketch. That's not going to help me. Right, so what we're going to do now, so just summarise what we did there for parametric equations. So, Cartesian equations are equations that connect x and y. We're looking today at parametric equations. We've got an equation for x and an equation for y. We can make it into a Cartesian equation by rearranging, getting t from one of the x's and y's and subbing it into the other. So I've made my Cartesian equation a connection just between y and x with no parameter t. I can look at the range and the domain of this function by sketching the graph, and I sketch the graph by looking at my values of t between -2 and 2, getting my x and y values and plotting them, and then I found my range and domain from that. So we're going to do a couple more questions now, very similar to that. Okay, so the first one I'd like you to do, and you're going to have a go at doing it, and then I'll go through it after you've had a go yourself. So I want you to look at these two parametric equations for connecting x and y. I'd like you to find the Cartesian equation, sketch the function, and find the domain and range. So I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at doing that. Okay, so you've had a go at doing that, and let's see how you got on with that question. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my Cartesian equation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get t from my x, so I'm going to rearrange, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I'm going to sub that into the y equation. So t is that. So there's my Cartesian equation, got it straight away. So I've got a quad, so that's the part, that's answer to A. Okay, now I'm going to sketch this equation, and I'm going to look at finding the domain and the range. Okay, so let's think of a sketch for this. Now, I'm told that t goes between 4 and -4. So if t goes between -4 and 4, then t minus 2, which is equal to x, will go between 2 and -6, just taking away 2 from everything. So basically my domain for x will be this. So that's how I'm going to sketch it. That's my domain. We'll go from 2 to -6. Okay, so that's my domain for my function.